This fall I think you're writing for is a special kind of fall. Horrible kind. The man falling isn't permitted to feel or hear himself at bottom. He just keeps falling and falling. The whole arrangement's designed for men who, at some point or other in their lives, were looking for something their own environment couldn't supply them with, or they thought their own environment could supply them with. So they gave up looking. They gave it up before they even got started.
Our story revolves around a kid named Holden Caulfield, a person who's just trying to find his place in society, just like the rest of us.
Now, there's a few things that you need to know about our protagonist. First of all, he wears a red hunting hat all the time. Now, this red hunting hat is a part of Holden. It is a symbol of his uniqueness and individuality, and it shows Holden's desires to be different from everybody around him. On top of the red hunting hat, you have this baseball mitt that Holden brings around. Now, this baseball mitt belonged to his brother that has long since passed and was very close and very dear to him. Holden brings out this baseball mitt a few times in the book and starts talking to it as if it was his brother. Now this, among other things, is merely a symbol of his loneliness and how people won't be there for him, so he has to make do with what he has. Hey, ow. I'm so lost.
Enough with the stuff that's on the outside, like the hat and the baseball mitt and all that stuff. Let's focus on what's on the inside now, because that's the most interesting thing about Holden.
Show me that I'm not alone. Holden, as an individual, I guess you could say, was the original hipster. He seemed to see the world for what it really was, and he was fully against conforming to society's ways. By doing this, he alienates himself from everybody as a way to preserve his state of mind. I guess you could say this was a result of him trying over and over again to find his way in a world that he doesn't belong in. He, instead of admitting that he doesn't fit in, he assumes he is better than everybody else and acts as though that they aren't worth his time. This mentality, as you may assume, causes people to leave him instead of staying there and being there for him, and that just adds to his loneliness. Along with Holden's self-preservation through alienation and his hate for the phoniness of the adult world, Holden has a hard time growing up. This whole book is centralized around the idea of there being a pain of growing up. His goal is to not grow up. He's trying to avoid growing up at all costs. Through this, he just gets overwhelmed by the complexity of things, and he just wants everything to be easily understood and wanted everything to stay the same. He didn't want anything to change. He has a hard time dealing with things changing. Okay, so the last thing that really needs to be discussed is the matter of the title, The Catcher in the Rye. Holden tends to avoid things that scare him, and adulthood is one of these things, no doubt. He, instead of acknowledging the adult world, he invents a fantasy where adulthood is a world of phoniness, as he would put it, while childhood was that of innocence. He creates this fantasy about the Catcher in the Rye. He imagines childhood as a field of rye, and the children in there are innocent and they're just playing around and they don't know what's going on. Now, as they near the cliff and fall to their death, Holden would be there to save them, and their death would be transference to adulthood. By Holden saving them, he thereby preserves their innocence and they can still be children instead of growing up and joining this phony world.
Well, don't give me no comic book sad looks no more. Please don't use those same excuses you've used before.